This is about to be my 4th attempt to film this review. I've been trying really hard to do this review and I'm finding it so hard. So I just want to put out a disclaimer. There are going to be spoilers in this video. I will try to keep it as limited as possible with how much I really talk about the spoilers, but I really just want to do like a rant review for this video. If there is going to be spoilers, I will put up a spoiler warning. I will give you timestamps to skip them. So let's get into this video. I'm determined to do it this time. Hidden Bodies, the sequel to You by Caroline, I can't pronounce her last name, Kepnes? I'm really not sure. It's the sequel to You. I'll give you a quick rundown on You. So You. I actually liked You. I'm sure most of you have maybe heard of the Netflix series starring the Gossip Girl guy. Dan Humphrey. What's his name? It's like Bagley. I can't pronounce his name. Basically, You is a story about a boy called Joe who works in a bookstore, and one day a girl walks in and he falls in love with her, and it's basically love at first sight for him. You was actually a pretty good book. I actually really enjoyed it. It was told in second person, so the whole time Joe was like talking to the girl. Her name was Guinevere Beck, but everybody called her Beck. So he was talking to her the whole time. So it was done in second person, so he was, rather than him just being like first person saying I did this, I did that, it was all like, it was just kept saying you did this, you're such a tease, Beck, I love you so much. But I actually really enjoyed You. Yeah, there was a couple of kind of like cringy moments. It wasn't the best, maybe it was a little bit overhyped, but I actually genuinely liked it. And I felt like the character of, I was about to call him Dan, that's his Gossip Girl name. The character of Joe was definitely, he was like a psychopath or a sociopath, but he was obsessively in love with Beck and he would do anything he could to be with Beck. Spoiler warning for You. I gotta spoil You to talk about Hidden Bodies. So spoiler warning now for the ending of You. I'll put a timestamp up when it's over. The way You went was that Joe ends up killing Beck's lover, Benji, her best friend, Peach, and in the end he ends up killing Beck as well, because she kind of finds out that he's basically her stalker as well as her boyfriend. He stalks her until she falls for him and they have a relationship. So the way that You ended was that he just killed Beck and a girl called Amy Adam walked into the bookstore and he basically sets his eyes on her and he's like, oh, hello You. So that was You, and I actually really enjoyed it. I definitely feel like the character of Dan was very good for a psychopathic guy. The author did such a good job of making you understand his reasoning for why he did what he did, and you basically fell in love with him. I know in the TV show it's a lot easier to accept everything that he does because the actor is stunning. So it's a lot easier when it's like an actor that's good looking to kind of justify them. It's like the same with any kind of villain. We can justify their actions if they look good. But when it's like a book character, that's a lot different because you're not actually seeing them. You're reading their words. But I actually did feel like I was fully on his side. Does that make me a psychopath too? So that was definitely a good point about You. I did love that the author made you love Dan, even though he essentially is Dan. I called him Dan again! Joe. He's Joe. The author definitely made you fall in love with Joe and justify his actions, which I feel was done perfectly. So on to Hidden Bodies. Bearing in mind, I liked You. I really liked You. So Hidden Bodies, right off the bat, I already knew there were a lot of bad reviews about it. They said that everything that was so good about the first book was completely lacking in this one, and I thought, oh no. I had not yet watched any of the show. I've seen the first 5 episodes of the first series. My friend has seen both seasons. We were comparing while I was reading this. I probably will watch the second series, or finish watching the first and watch the second, just to kind of see the difference. So I was a little bit skeptical going in. I was a bit disheartened that everybody else didn't seem to like it, but I thought I'll give it a chance. I'll give it a chance, because guaranteed sometimes I read book reviews for people who hate books that I loved, so it can happen. The book basically starts off with Dan is in a relationship with Amy Adam. The first time I read her name, this was my first issue of the book, I didn't like that her name was Amy Adam, which was so close to Amy Adams, the actress, who, by the way, is actually referenced in this book and not in connection to like Amy Adam about how they have similar names. That's never touched upon. I feel like it was a choice by the author. Amy wants to be an actress, and part of this book surrounds the kind of idea of all these wannabes in LA that want to be actors, want to be actresses, directors, rock stars. I get that, so I'm kind of wondering if the author chose that name for her to kind of symbolise she's so close to being an actress, but she's not quite. She's like everybody else, Amy Adam. She's not quite Amy Adams, she's Amy Adam. That was a choice. That was a choice. And I didn't like the name Adam as a last name, I'll be perfectly honest. It just, like Adams, yeah, that's fine. The Adams family, Amy Adams, fine. But the name Adam, it just didn't sit right. Saying Amy Adam, Amy Adams, Amy Adam, didn't sit right with me. So the book starts off with Joe and Amy, and they go on vacation to Little Compton. Now Little Compton is where Beck's friend Peach in the first book lived. And the reason they go there is because this isn't really a spoiler, it doesn't really matter. It matters a wee bit, but basically at one point when Joe was stalking Beck, and this was when I think they were together, because that's the thing, even after he got the girl, he still stalked her. He stalked her social media, he infiltrated her email accounts, he had to check up on her all the time. Beck went to stay with Peach, I think for like a girls' holiday, or there was something, and he went and he hid in Peach's house. And while he was hiding out in like a cupboard or something, he had to pee, and he peed into a mug. One of the running themes in this book was mug of piss. No, mug of urine. Because Joe had left a mug of urine in Peach's house. And he was worried that, you know, if police ever found that, that would be bad for him, for reasons relating to the first book. So that was the thing. He went to Little Compton with Amy, and I think it was because he wanted to get that mug of urine, but they didn't. They ended up having a nice time, and then they come back, and I should probably point out that Amy actually works at the bookstore with Joe, and she wanted him to cut her a key so that she could access the rare books that are downstairs in a glass cage where they keep all these rare books. When they come back from holiday, and that's important by the way, the key thing. When they come back from holiday, Amy says she wants to spend the night in her own bed, and Joe's like, fair enough. So he goes home, she goes home, and then the next morning he comes to work and he sees that the door's open and they've been robbed. And he goes downstairs and he realises that, yep, someone stole all the rare books, and surprise, surprise, it's Amy. Amy was the thief. And she used her keys to get into it, and she leaves him a book that she'd been reading to him and said inside, basically, I'm sorry. And so our man Joe, he is pissed that this girl has basically pretended to love him just to steal these books, and through a bit of computer snooping, because she'd taken his laptop downstairs where the cage was and she'd been looking stuff up online, but she'd wiped her history, but he was somehow able to figure out what she'd been looking at, and he realised that she was moving to LA because she wanted to be an actress. So Joe decides to follow Amy to LA to kill her. My main issue with this book, one of my main issues with this book from the get-go, I realised how bloodthirsty Joe was. Like in the first book, this is so hard to talk about without giving spoilers. I'll put up a sign. Spoiler warning. Spoiler. In the first book, he killed 3 times, and he only killed because he felt he had to. And he was meticulous about it. Like Benji, he kidnapped him and he had him living in the cage for a while. He only kills when he feels that he has to, and he does it so well, and he justifies his actions so you don't think of him as a monster. I forgot to mention another death as well. There was Candace. She was referenced in the first book, but we didn't actually see her, so she was kind of like killed off screen before the events that happened in You. Whereas in this book, he was so bloodthirsty. He was so bloodthirsty. It felt like every single person he came upon, he was like, I might have to kill them. Oh, they might know something, I might have to kill them. It was a lot. I should have made notes for every time he referenced somebody that he would have to kill. It was a lot right off the bat, and I thought, like, fair enough saying you're gonna go after Amy and kill her, but you didn't have to. You could have went after her because you were pissed. But saying like you're going after her because you want to kill her because of what she did to you. But Joe was very bloodthirsty in this one. but I will touch upon that again later. So that was from the start. Joe flits to LA and he gets a flat at a place where he thinks Amy's gonna be, and he gets a job in a bookstore. He hears about this healthy food place called The Pantry, where he hopes she'll be because she loves these like superfoods, and that's like a superfood fruit and veg store. He puts up a lot of ads for looking for actresses, hoping that she'll apply. He goes to random auditions, just hoping it be something that she's interested in so he can find her. For the first quarter of this book, Joe is determined to find Amy. Then one day, while attending an audition, he happens to meet a girl called Love. Now Love, I have absolutely no idea what her job is. She seems to be, she's like in a room watching auditions on like a computer. So she's watching the audition, and every time I think about this, I don't actually remember at any point if they ever mentioned this again. Like, what was she watching them for? What she wasn't really, was it for a movie? What was she doing? Is she a casting director? What? I don't actually remember them really touching upon this again. Maybe I just wasn't paying attention. Maybe by this point I'd stopped paying attention to the book, but I'm not quite sure what that was about. But so he sat in with her, and he was they were writing notes to each other back and forward because they couldn't talk, and he was making jokes, she was making jokes. After that, she was like, I'm gonna introduce you to my brother. This should have been the point where I realised something was not right with this book. The girl was called Love, and right off the bat I thought, okay, that's a bit of a, it's an okay name. It reminds you of something quite spiritual, like you can imagine a quite spiritual person. This is my daughter Love. This is my daughter Peace. My daughter Hope. I feel like it's such a quite a spiritual name. It's quite cute. I can totally imagine like some sort of celebrity naming their daughter Love. But then she introduces Joe to her brother, and her brother is called 40. 40. And she says that her parents are massive tennis fans. I swear to God, you could not make this shit up. Who names their child 40? I thought, oh no, not 40. Is there not another tennis term you could have thought of instead of naming your son 40? Seriously. So Joe meets Love and 40, and Love invites Joe to come to his parents' house for, I'm gonna say the weekend, I'm not quite sure. And it turns out that Love and 40 are from a rich family, and their family owns the pantry that Joe has been frequenting lately. 40 is an aspiring screenwriter, and as for Love, as I said, I'm really not entirely sure what she is, what she does, what she was doing that day, because what were Love and 40 actually doing that day when they were like auditioning people? They didn't actually have a movie in the works. And thus begins Joe and Love's romance journey. What a journey it was. From this point onwards, I must admit, this is the point where I realised I didn't like the book. It literally became that Love and 40, their parents, they're rich, and they're friends with random celebrities and party with the rich and famous basically, and Joe now suddenly becomes whisked into this life of the super rich and the super famous, and the whole thing reminded me of like a story, like a Wattpad story that a teenager would write about how they suddenly bumped into a celebrity and suddenly started dating them, and now they party with all the celebrities, and it's like, oh my god, there's Orlando Bloom. Like what's that song? The Hannah Montana song. You go to movie premieres. Is that Orlando Bloom? His songs on the radio. But that's literally what it was. At this point it was like, he was at a party and it was like, oh, there's Reese Witherspoon, there's Kate Hudson, and it was like, it got kind of a bit silly by this point, I think. And don't get me wrong, I know that any average Joe average Joe can suddenly become famous. Like, it's like somebody writing a song, and anybody that's just starting out in the industry, and then suddenly they're award shows and parties and they're meeting people. But for Joe, it felt a bit strange because Love and 40's parents are just rich, and yeah, I know that rich people can be like partying with celebrities and stuff and at events, but it was, I really don't know. I really don't know. Love and her childhood friend, or 40's childhood friend called Milo, who's like a brother to them, Love and Milo end up getting like a movie deal for a movie called Boots and Puppies. You cannot make this shit up. The movie was called Boots and Puppies, and Milo was basically directing it, but he was also starring in it. Love was starring in it as the leading lady, the love interest of Milo's character, and Joe was getting really, really possessive by this point, and this is when he was thinking, I'm gonna have to kill Milo. It's the only way. And it was like... Can I just point out, this is not a big spoiler warning. By this point, when we've met Love and the movie thing's happening, by this point in the book, Joe has already killed 2 people. He killed a comedian called Henderson, all because he made a joke on his TV show that Joe recognised as something to do with Amy. And he was like, oh my god, he must be dating Amy. So he goes to a party at this Henderson's house, waits until everybody leaves, drugs him, kills him. The guy confesses to not actually knowing Amy at all. He just met her at a bar once and she told him this story and he used it in his show, but he doesn't actually know her. Joe kills him anyway, R.I.P. Henderson. And then there's Delilah. Don't F Delilah. Delilah is a character that lives in Joe's building, and she's a bit, I mean, she's a little bit possessive, a little bit clingy, but you know, some girls are. I'm a little bit like that myself. And they end up sleeping together, and while he's sleeping he wakes up and he finds her kind of going through her stuff, and it's his bag that he took to Henderson's house, so he automatically thinks that she knows that he killed Henderson, so he feels he has to kill her, so he kills her, and then he dumps her body in the water. And then there's the 3rd death while they're filming the movie Boots and Puppies. Now obviously Joe gets to go being Love's boyfriend. By this point they're lovers. They've already told each other they love each other, and they spend 2 weeks together at her parents' place. I don't know if it's on holiday. And then they go to Malibu, and then they're filming the movie, and then they're in Mexico at one point, and it was like, it's been like a month, they already love each other, you know, standard love romances, these romances, Hollywood romance. While they're filming, a police officer turns up investigating Delilah's disappearance, and Joe knows this police officer. He gave him a ticket for jaywalking. The police he has a few suspicions. He asks Joe a few questions. Have you seen her? Blah blah blah. And that's the end of it. And then Joe decides that he has to kill this police officer because he's going to keep digging and he's going to find something out. So he's like, I'm going to have to kill him. So he lures him to Mexico while they're there, under the premise that he's going to be doing some security work for Megan Fox. And then the guy ends up basically killing himself, but it was like it was a stupid thing. He was in this house that was empty, and there was like a recording studio in the basement, and he got the police officer down there and he locked him in because he drugged him, or he fell down the stairs, I think. Joe basically he unlocked in this glass room, and the guy kept running at the glass, and then eventually he ran at the glass really hard and killed himself. And I was just like, what is this? And then he buries him in the garden. So we have 3 deaths by about the halfway point in the book. And I thought to myself, oh dear God. Throughout the book, Joe and Forty are working on a couple of screenplays. They are Forty's ideas. 2 of them, there's the third twin and the mess. They are his ideas, but Joe basically helps him along with it, gives him a few ideas on what to do, how it could be done. And then Forty eventually gets like a deal, a movie deal for his, or it gets picked up for one of his ideas, and Joe gets pissed because he gets none of the credit. Now I will be honest, it's one of those things where it's so hard, it's hard for us to know, well, how much Joe did you actually do? Did you write the whole screenplay? Because Joe is so pissed that he gets 0 credit, and I can get that. I mean, it's like writing a book with someone and they get the entirety of the credit, and you're like, the hell? So he's so mad that Forty is giving him no credit, and obviously it's his name that's up in lights. Ken, they're saying like, oh, Forty gets a movie deal and blah blah blah, but obviously the tabloid industry sort of knows Forty, they're aware of him, probably because he's rich, and obviously Joe's just a nobody, he's just an average Joe, so there's nothing said about him. But obviously it's a dick move of Forty not to give any credit and say this is my writing partner, because obviously they would still put Forty's names up in lights and put Joe about down here. But I feel like it was hard to sympathise with Joe because, well, how much did you actually put into it? He's acting like it was his ideas, but the concept was originally Forty's. You helped him with it, but spoiler warning again. To be honest, by this point I feel like this whole bit is just spoilers. So so Joe then decides to kill Forty. Yup, you heard it. He decides the only way that this is gonna work is for him to kill Forty and then take all the credit for the script. In what world is this a good idea? This is where my other issue started with the book. When I realised, it was after he killed Delilah, I fully realised that there's just no method behind this anymore. in the last book, in You, he was so meticulous and planning his killings and the aftermath and how he was going to do it. He was writing on Benji's Twitter for weeks and months after he killed him to keep up the premise that he was still alive, and then he kind of faked a suicide for him. So that was fine. That was good planning. Peach he made it look like it was a drowning. As for Beck, he framed her psychiatrist. So nobody was looking for him in relation to Beck's death because he framed the psychiatrist. So it was like, good job, Joe. You know, you fully got away with 4 murders actually, including the one that happened before You. So it's like, this time, the Henderson one, yeah, that was fine. He made it look like a suicide. I think he posted one thing on Twitter. Delilah, he just murdered her, threw her body into the water, and that was the end of it. It's obvious that people were going to question why this girl, this party girl who's always trying to get in about celebrities and wants to be an actress or whatever, is suddenly gone. Where was the planning? And then the third, when he kills the police officer, it's like, surely there would be notes that he was going to do security work for Megan Fox and then find the emails and then track it back to Joe or whatever. I just felt it was so bad. And then he wanted to kill Milo, but then he decided he didn't have to kill Milo after him and Laura, I was going to call her Laura, after him and Love had a good talking through, and she told them how, yes, she had slept with Milo in the past, but she was never ever going to feel anything for him, yada yada yada. She didn't know why she didn't love him, she just didn't. She loves Joe. That was kind of the end of it. A specific scene in the movie, oh yeah, I'm going to talk about this. One of the things about Joe and Love, this is such an innuendo, but I'm going to try not to say it out loud. There was going to be an added scene into this movie between Love's character and Milo's character where she gives him a BJ and Joe is fuming about this scene because Love has specifically said to him that she does not feel comfortable doing them. She just doesn't feel the need to. She doesn't want to. Fair enough, girl. Completely understand. So Joe is livid that she is now about to do this scene with Milo. And this is why he decides he has to kill Milo. But then things come out alright in the end. And all I could think about was, wait, are you meaning to tell me that she's actually gonna do it? Like, she's gonna do the do? She's gonna... I'm trying not to be crude. It's so awkward talking about this. But like, normally in movies when it comes to like intimate scenes and sex scenes, it's not real. So why is this going to be real? Is this movie a straight up porno? Like, what is happening? What? So that was a thing. Like, this movie, and everyone was talking about how, oh, it's gonna be amazing, it's gonna make it the next big thing. What? You're gonna do it for real? I thought normally like they would have like the person stand like this, and then they'd have the other person like here, and they'd go like that to make it look like it was happening, but really there was nothing happening. And I just thought, what the fuck? So understandably, I was on Joe's side for that one, because he was pissed that she was gonna be giving oral to Milo. But then her and Joe end up having a conversation, and she ends up doing it to him in the kitchen, and Milo sees this and hears their conversation, and they decide, Love decides to cut the scene, but all of a sudden now she's happy to continue giving them to Joe. So all's well that ends well. Milo doesn't have to die now. And the movie, I don't know what happens with the movie. So back to 40, Joe and 40. 40 then goes off on a bender after finding out that he's got this movie deal. So he goes off on a bender, and Joe decides to go and find him, and he feels like while he's out here looking for him, he could kill him. And he does kill him. He takes him out to this bit, and there's a hot spring, and he dunks his head, drugs him, he's full of alcohol, and he dunks his head under the water and he drowns him. End of story. Bye bye 40. Joe then comes back and he's with Love. Things are sad. We're sad because they're all missing 40. They don't know where he is. His mum and dad are worried he's sick. And then they get the call to say that 40 has been found. And he's alive. He's alive! So 40 is found, and they go visit him in hospital, and he doesn't tell anybody that Joe tried to kill him, but he uses it to blackmail him to basically write all his scripts for him in the future, and Joe will get 0 of the credit. So he's basically fucked himself. So that's great. 40 is still alive, but now he's a bitch. And that's another thing. I really didn't like the sudden switch in Forty's character. He was so charming to begin with, so funny. He always called Joe old sport, which made me think of Gatsby. And now all of a sudden he's a dick. He's a script stealing meanie. Then spoiler. Then he dies for real. I swear to God, you can't make this stuff up. He gets hit by a car. I'm crying. 40 gets hit by a car, jaywalking down the street. It's just so emotional. He actually dies. For real. And Joe is so relieved. I'm gonna have to get a tissue. And Joe is so relieved because it means that he didn't have to do it. He didn't have to kill him. Someone else killed him for it, and he's all thanking God, like, thank you God for killing this man for me. Like, God's your professional hitman. So that was something. That happened. So then we're getting near towards the end of the story, and I won't give away too much anymore of the plot, but that kind of is the main premise of the book. I had to talk about 40 dying for real because it made me want to touch upon one thing. So I made a few notes while I was reading it of things that I really didn't like. So first of all, I hated how much killing there was, because by this point in this book he's tried to kill 40. He killed the police officer, he killed Delilah, and he killed Henderson, and he also wanted to kill Amy. And at one point he wanted to kill Milo. So we've had 3 real deaths and 6 want to dies kind of thing. He wanted to kill everybody. He was going out of his mind, wanted to kill literally everybody and every character he came across. It was like, normally Joe was so smart. He was so smart with his actions and what he did. So for this time, for him, his actions just to be, I'm gonna kill them, we wanna kill you, we better kill you. I also find there was too much sex. There was too much sex. Every second sentence, it felt like he couldn't talk about how much he loved love without having to reference how much he just wanted to have sex with her. And it was like, Ken, give it a rest, okay? We get it. You want to keep writing smutty stuff, but it was all the time, constant, and I just felt like and the killings themselves were really sloppy. I really hate that. It was impulsive, it was not thought out, there was no afterthought or planning. He killed them, he got rid of them, and then he moved on as if like he's not going to be under speculation because he knows these people or he's had some connection to them. So it just felt like, what are you doing, Joe? This ain't the Joe I know. Then we get on to the character names. The character names were the worst in this book. I've already said I didn't like Amy Adam because it sounds very much like Amy Adams. Then of course Love and 40. I mean, then there was a character that we didn't actually meet but was mentioned, and it was the girl who had the apartment before Joe. So the apartment that he moves into, and her name was Brit. And they just referenced her as Brit, and I thought to myself, what kind of name's that? Brit? Why not call her just Brit? That's what I found a lot with this book. There's a lot of like duplicate names. So like rather than just saying like, oh, her name's Brittany, she goes by Brit, or just calling her Brit, it was Brit. And I thought that's weird. First I thought it was a typo, but then it kept coming up. And then there was another character, and I really can't remember who he was. I can't remember if he was Love's first husband, if it was just a family friend. I don't know if he's still alive or dead. We've never actually saw him in the book, but he was mentioned by 40 at one point, and I couldn't remember who he was, what his relation was to any of this. But his name was Michael Motorcycle. Again, with the multiple names. Michael. Why? What's with the double names? And then Michael Motorcycle. That one's actually quite fun to say, so I will give her that. I'll give the author that one, but I can't go for Brit. And again, as I said, the whole thing really felt like a Wattpad story about like an average Joe suddenly being whisked into the lives of the rich and famous, and he's now bumping shoulders with celebrities, and he's at events, and all these people are here, and it's amazing. Like, oh, yes. Then I want to touch upon something that really bothered me, and it bothered me quite a lot in this book, is the fact that real life celebrities were mentioned in this book a lot. Now, I don't really mind celebrities being mentioned in fiction. My only issue is when you write them into your story and it's like they're there and they're interacting with characters. I just feel like you don't know that person in real life. You may have seen them in interviews, but you don't know how they actually are, how they would interact, what they would say. So I just feel like I didn't really like all the real celebrity references. For some reason I just didn't like it. I think I'd much prefer if all the so-called celebrities were like maybe made up. Like, so say there was like a famous director in this story and it was like a made up name and it was a made up person, rather than saying something like, oh yeah, James Cameron wants to make your movie. I just feel like, I don't know, I didn't really like the real actors being in the story and actually having like parts to play. I don't know why I didn't like that, I just didn't. But there was a lot of name dropping in this story. I should have made notes of all of them, but yeah, Kate Hudson, Reese Witherspoon, Joaquin Phoenix, Pierce Brosnan. Pierce Brosnan ended up at the house of Love's parents, and it was the reference to like how Love's mum was suddenly hugging Pierce Brosnan, and I was like, what? I think George Clooney was referenced. Megan Fox actually made a cameo appearance, as well as being in a fake email. She ended up actually being there. And this is where I realised as well it was a bit silly. And it was when, after 40 died and there was a funeral for him, and Joe gave a eulogy at the funeral, and literally every single celebrity you can imagine was there. And I just felt like, yeah, 40's been in the news lately for his script and his new movie deals, so that's great, he's an upcoming star, and apart from being like rich and obviously like well known, maybe he's like a party animal. I just can't imagine all these celebrities going to his funeral. It's not like he was a massive movie director, it was like, and he died and everybody who ever starred in his movies went. So I just found it very strange that at his funeral all these celebrities are here and crying, and it was like, just because you meet someone once doesn't mean you go to their funeral. That's where it became really cringy and quite over the top, was when like all these celebrities, when Joe was reading his eulogy and he's like looking at all the people, and this was the line, I documented this line because I didn't like it. I didn't like it, and this is another reason why I said I did not like these real actors and actresses being in the book and having parts to play. This was when Joe was reading the eulogy for 40's, his funeral, and he looked over at Megan Fox and it said, Megan Fox uncrosses her legs. She wants me. Number one, Megan Fox is married, and as far as I'm aware, she's happily married. So I refuse to believe at a funeral she's sitting with her legs uncrossed because she wants to sleep with you. No, Joe, no. That was a big issue I had as well with this book, was the way that Joe acted like he was God's gift to women, and every single female character that we interacted with wanted to sleep with him. Every single one of them. There was even a girl at one point where he accidentally broke into, well, he didn't accidentally, he broke into her apartment because he thought that Amy was there, and she karate chops him and beats him up a bit, and afterwards it's hinted at that she wants him, she wants to sleep with him or something, and it's like, the way that the author treated Joe like he was God's gift to women. And part of me wonders if maybe that's just Joe's character dynamic, like, because this book was told in first person, which I actually really missed the second person dynamic. I loved that so much in the first book, so it was lacking in this one, but I suppose he didn't really have anyone to talk to in terms of like you. Because maybe it was a first person told story, so it's Joe and his opinions, and it's his attitude towards himself. He probably thinks that he is God's gift to women, and that every girl does want to sleep with them when actually they don't. But I still just feel like, oh god, we could have had at least one character that said no to him or stood up to him. Like, that's why I love Peach in the first book. She was like the one character that saw through him and all like bull crap. I think she was a lesbian, so that would explain why she didn't want to sleep with him. And then, oh, okay, I have got to talk about the ending. Spoiler warning for the ending. Joe ends up back in Little Compton because an anonymous tip-off has told the police that Peach's death was not a suicide, but it was murder, and the police end up looking into it. So Joe ends up going back to Little Compton without telling anybody, or I think he lies to Peach and says he's going one place and he ends up going there, but she somehow is able to track him down. Oh, this is when 40 is still missing. 40's still missing by this point, because he said he was going to go look for 40. and he ends up going to Little Compton. He ends up going to Little Compton because he's determined now. All the hustle and bustle about Peach's house, he thinks he'll be able to break in and retrieve his mug of urine that's in the cupboard somewhere, because he's worried the police will find it and it's a mug of his DNA. So while he's there, Love tracks him down, and she basically tries to break up with him because she's like, look, what the hell is going on, Joe? I've told you everything about my life and you tell me nothing, and blah blah blah. So she goes to break up with him, and Joe's idea, his logic is, I'm gonna tell her the truth. I'm gonna tell her everything. So he tells her about Beck, Benji, Peach. I think he tells her about Henderson and Delilah. That's not told. All it says is that he told her about everything apart from 40. Because at this point I think he's killed 40. But then, or he thought he killed 40 but 40's actually still alive. I think this is the kind of time period between finding 40 and 40 actually dying again for real. So Love doesn't yet know that 40's dead, but in Joe's mind 40 is dead, or that he killed him, whatever. So he tells her the whole truth. So I'm assuming he must tell her about Henderson and Delilah as well. But maybe not. I'm not sure. Or the policeman. I don't know if he tells her about the policeman. And Love accepts this. She accepts that he's killed people in the name of love. And then some kind of drama kicks off, and it turns out that Love's pregnant, and they decide they're gonna get married at some point. And then while they're at a Taco Bell, Joe goes to the bathroom, comes out, the place is deserted, and then he gets arrested because the police have now finally caught up on him, and he gets arrested. And the book actually ends with Joe in prison being questioned by the police for all these different deaths and stuff, and it's chaotic. Love is 100% on his side. His lawyer's basically telling him not to say anything because everything they've got is circumstantial. There's no proper evidence because Joe is so careful. So it's like, oh my god. And then the book literally ended with Joe still in prison but talking about how he's gonna get out. So you know there's gonna be a third book. And am I gonna read it? Probably. But will I enjoy it? No. But somehow I made it through this one. I really honestly do not know how. I think I gave this book a 2-star on Goodreads because, to be perfectly honest, I do love the author's writing style, and I do sort of still like Joe as a character. He's okay. I feel like it could have been a lot better. He also does meet Amy again, by the way, but then nothing ever came of that. He decides to let her live. They have a good little heart-to-heart on the beach. There are a lot of differences apparently with this than the TV show. They apparently completely changed series 2. From what I gathered from talking to my friend, but I said to her, well, no wonder they couldn't afford all those cameo roles the celebrities were making. I definitely still stand by my 2-star review for the book. It could have been a lot better. The whole celebrity aspect of it bothered me a little bit, but the writing style's pretty good. Love as a character, don't like her. Don't like her even more that she's standing by Joe even after he's confessed to being a serial killer. Like, what is up with that? If my man told me he killed people and his ex-girlfriend, I'd be running. What's to stop him from killing you? I'd be gone. I'm gonna just wrap this up now because I'm at 50 minutes. But yeah, so that was my review of Caroline Kepnes, maybe? Hidden Bodies, the sequel to You. I would recommend reading it if you've read the first one. I definitely don't think it compares. I did read a lot of good reviews for it though, but obviously that's just folk that are obsessed with Joe and he can do no wrong. Whereas in this book, I fully was not behind him at all. He was just a bit... He was also, as well, actually, I forgot to touch on this. The character of Joe was really whiny this time. He was such a good character in the first one, and he was so whiny this time, and every time Love did or said something, he was overreacting, and he was moaning, and it was like, what are you doing, Joe? What are you doing? No. I'm gonna have to watch the series on Netflix just to kind of get over it. I really hope there's not going to be a third one, but you know damn well there is. It definitely feels like a very rushed book. I feel like the author maybe tried just to churn it out in time with the show, because it's very funny how the show has the exact same characters, like the character names are all the same, but everything's different. The entire premise of the show is different, and the characters all do different things. Like I said, no wonder all those cameo appearances from different celebrities. But I realised that must be a new pet peeve of mine. I don't like celebrities being mentioned in books. in a sense of as in they're part of the book. I don't mind if they're being mentioned. Like, if you want to mention a real person, I feel like that's fine. But actually having them in the story and speaking to the characters, I didn't like it. I did not like it at all. But yeah, so that was my little review of Hidden Bodies. This was a big run. I'm gonna take me forever to edit this. So I'm just gonna wrap this up real quick because I think that is everything I have to talk about. So thank you very much for watching this video, and I shall see you in my next one, which is hopefully not going to be as long as this one because my god, I'm going to be editing this all night. Much love, bye.